is the last and final thing that a business does? So we talked about, so we have some entrepreneurs in the house. A business has a product or service. A business makes money. The business serves the community. And the last thing, what does a business do? A business employs people. So if you are an entrepreneur and you have not employed someone as of yet, I'm encouraging you to do that, because that is what registers you as a business. And so I think that people have an idea, a concept sometimes, that when they have to pay an employee that they're losing money, but in actuality they're making more money. So again, welcome to the Self-Care for Entrepreneurs Workshop. Today we're going to be talking about how to take care of yourself. And this is not about, like, as an entrepreneur, I'm tired, let me go get a facial, let me go get a massage, let me go and do whatever. So self-care is something that needs to be happening on a regular basis. And one thing that we're going to be talking about today are the 8 essential areas in which self-care needs to happen for entrepreneurs. So did everybody register? So there's a QR code here. If you can go ahead and just register right there. I want to be able to follow up with everybody. Also, does anyone need a pen or a pen to? So we have a booklet here. If you need a pen, I have some pens as well. You know, something else they say about entrepreneurs, they always have like a watch and a pen, right? Because they're always trying to figure out what the time is, and they always need to write something down. So, all right, and so you should have your workbook template with you if you are here in the space. If not, it's okay. If you want it, you can definitely email me, naima@ladykhadijahInstitute.com, to receive one. And so what I want you to do right now is I need you to put on your thinking cap. I need you to think about, like, as an entrepreneur, what are some ways that you felt exhausted before, or you felt burnt out, or you felt tired, or you felt like, man, I don't know what else to do, right? Just kind of think about those things really, really quickly. And as you're thinking about those, I want to kind of tell you who I am. So my name is Naima Abdullah. I am the coach, a life and business coach. So I'm the coach for Lady Khadijah Institute, which is an institute that focuses on empowering women, Muslim women and Black-owned women, to, of course, get their business, change their mindset hurdles, to make 6 and 7 figures, to have more joy, make more money, and live the life they want to live. And so this basically the institute itself is about really having women to level up on their own, and it has nothing to do with being in competition with anybody else. It's specifically so that women can have their own independence. And independence is not a bad thing, because women can also be interdependent. And so that's important to also know, that even though a woman has her own business, she can still be interdependent within the family structure. So that's important to know as well. So myself, I have been a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. I worked at my place of worship for 10 years, and then I am on my 8-year entrepreneurial journey. So hopefully in 2 more years after my entrepreneurial journey, I would have already turned myself into a millionaire, and I'll hopefully be able to do some philanthropic type work. So we'll see how that's going to go. So the goals for the workshop today is, of course, we are going to leave here today, and hopefully you will have an action plan for these 8 areas of focus, so that when you feel burnt out or whatever you need in that specific area, you're able to turn to your action plan and put it into practice. All right? So we'll be doing a self-assessment, which I kind of already had you all thinking about earlier. So you're going to be referring to each of the 8 areas of the self-care, and you're going to be rating how well you're managing each one on a scale of 1 to 10. And then we're going to be doing a couple of discussions. It's not we're not going to be doing like a long thing, but this self-assessment area is going to take about 20 minutes, and then we're going to do a deep dive into the 8 areas of focus. All right, y'all ready? All right, so the self-assessment, if you can go into your journal, what you'll see is, I'm going to kind of get you all to read the first page. And on the first page, you'll see that we're going to be talking about what self-assessment is, again. And then you go through, if you want to thumb through really quick, you'll see the areas that we're going to be talking about so that you can kind of get an idea and a concept of like, what do I need self-care? What do I really need to focus on when it comes to self-care? So the 8 areas that we'll be talking about today are physical. So with the physical self-care, you have the significance is the foundation of self-care is, of course, your physical being. Taking care of your body ensures that you have the energy and the stamina to handle the personal and professional challenges. How many of you take care of your body really, really well? Or you think you do? Meaning that you're getting the proper amount of sleep, you are exercising regularly, you are eating good food, you are going to see the doctor regularly, meaning every year you're getting your checkout. When you don't feel well, you are actually seeing what that is and not putting it off, right? So that is physical self-care. So now what I want you to think about when it comes to physical self-care, how well are you taking care of yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? Physical self-care, how well are you taking care of yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? And you can flip through the page and find physical care, and go ahead at the top, right above the word physical care. You want to put today's date or whenever you want to do the specific thing, but what you want to do is put the number on top of the actual area and put what number you're doing and how well you're taking care of yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 right now. So in the area of physical care, what are you doing? Are you doing regular exercises? Are you walking, yoga, stretching, training? Did you know that if you stretch every single day, you elongate your life by at least up to 10 years? Did you know that if you walk every single day, you can do the exact same thing? And how often do people fight other people for parking spaces all the way at the front because they don't want to have to walk in the parking lot from their car into the store, right? Do you prioritize sleep, meaning that you are aiming to get at least 7 to 8 hours? Have you ever heard someone say, I only need a couple hours of sleep? It's because they've trained their body to get that, but they're not actually replenishing their body, their mind. And some things about when you go to sleep, you need to make sure that you are in a dimly lit room, that there's not a lot of lights in the room, that the room is very, very cool. I know sometimes we like to sleep in hot rooms when it's the wintertime, but the room needs to be cool. And then also, you need to not have any sound. What happens is when you are in a room and you're sleeping, and say, for instance, the TV is on, your brain is still working. So what happens is you're not getting any sleep. So this is also why it's important for us to be able to turn our phones off and do some type of reading of the book or some mental meditation before you go to sleep so that you can go into the deep realm of sleeping when you are asleep. Eating balanced meals, nutritious meals, regularly health checkups, and staying hydrated. And let me just tell you about hydration really quick before we go on. Hydration is something that we take for granted and we really don't understand and know about. Hydration is when you feel thirsty, your body is already hydrated. So thirst, the feeling of thirst is really what your body is saying. It's the last plea to say, I need some water, right? And so I know that people love to drink drinks. I always see people drinking juices and things like that. But juice is not a substitute for water. So making sure that you get the proper amount of water, and not just water from the bottled water, but living water. So if you don't know what living water is, you need to look it up. Because water is supposed to, when you drink it, it is supposed to process within the body. So if the water is living and alive, then it's going to process through your body quickly. If you drink water and you get that heavy feeling on your stomach after you drink the water, that water is dead. So when we talk about physical care, are we drinking a lot of bottled water, or are we actually making sure that we're hydrating with water that is also important for us. So again, you should be putting at the top of the physical care in your workbook how well you're taking care of yourself physically on a scale of 1 to 10. Next, we're going to go to emotional. How well are you taking care of yourself emotionally on a scale of 1 to 10? The significance of emotional self-care allows you to acknowledge and manage your feelings in a healthy way, preventing burnout, stress, and emotional exhaustion. This is important because oftentimes in the society we're taught to be emotionally disconnected from how we feel, and that's not healthy. So having emotional self-care is very, very important, and understanding and acknowledging your emotional self-care is important. Some of the self-care activities that you should be doing on the emotional level are journaling your emotions, writing gratitude. Something, as Muslims, it says that Allah says that if you are grateful, I will give you more. But just something as simple as being grateful. One practice that I like to do at night is, as soon as I hit the pillow, I know I'm about to go to sleep, but I'm going to say at least 3 things that I'm grateful for the day. Whether it's something as simple as, I had breath in my body, I was able to breathe, I was able to walk, I was able to listen, I was able to see today. So something as simple as that, as you build upon gratitude, the more that you do it, the more that you're going to feel empowered, okay? Speaking with a therapist or a counselor is a part of emotional self-care. If you wanted to come up here, you can. Speaking with a therapist or counselor, this is becoming more and more popular, and I'm really excited that it's becoming popular because this is so essential for us as people to make sure that we're talking to people about how we're feeling and how we're processing things that happen to us, either in the past or currently, right? So having a therapist or a counselor on deck, you should be having somebody on deck. And a couple of things that I want to recommend that you write down is, if you want to go to psychology help, you can go there and find a therapist. BetterHelp.com, you can find a therapist there. And then if you are, of course, teetering on the brink of, like, if you're feeling depressed for 2 or more weeks, then you really definitely need to be making sure that you're speaking with a counselor. But your emotional health is important, so go to your workbook. Inside of your workbook, put how well you're taking care of yourself emotionally at the top of the emotional page. And again, you're scoring yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. How much are you taking care of yourself emotionally? The next area is mental. Your mental health. The significance of mental care, self-care keeps your mind sharp and promotes clarity, focus, and creativity, all of which are crucial for decision-making and problem-solving in life and business. So when you're thinking about your mental health, how well are you taking care of yourself right now on a scale of 1 to 10? And some self-care activities for your mental health would be learning a new skill. This is why it's so important. You can use a pen, any of these pens. Just different places. Yeah. So when you start thinking about learning a new skill or taking an online course, there are so many free online courses where you can get a certificate in something. And so many advances in terms of, like, different things that you can do. Do you want to learn, like, something new that's happening right now is a lot of people are learning how to use AI, right? Do you want to get a certificate in AI? Do you want to, hey, I didn't finish college. Go ahead and think about, hey, maybe I can get my associate's degree instead of trying to get my bachelor's degree. If you don't want to do that, you can always think about, what is a trade that I can learn? One thing that we talked about last month in the last workshop that we did last month is that, people, there are, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and close to the early 2000s, it was probably about 200,000 jobs in the world for people to choose from. Well, now in 2024, there are over 1 million jobs for people to choose from. And every day, a new job is created because of how the society is now set up. You can create a job to do any and everything. So a job is always on deck. So when you start thinking about all of these new things that are happening, how are you focusing on and being able to problem solve and be a decision maker when it comes to a job, especially one that you probably may not have had experience in before? And then, of course, again, learning a new skill. Reading books. How many people read books regularly? Did you know that most entrepreneurs that are millionaires, or most millionaires, I should say, they read a book every single day? A minimum of 30 minutes a day. Who wants to be a millionaire? Oh gosh, okay. I didn't see enough hands go up. Who wants to be a millionaire? I mean, like, everybody should be raising their hand. This concept of like being a millionaire, I think, is something that we are afraid to embrace. But if you have more than 2 people in your household and your rent is more than $2,000 a month, you need to be a millionaire. Specifically because our expenses are so high. Usually most entrepreneurs do not make over $100,000 in the lifetime of their business, meaning like per year. Okay, so most entrepreneurs will never make over $100,000, and we need to change that. And so if you currently have not made over $100,000 in your business, you need to be focusing on becoming a millionaire, okay? So reading books are important. Solving puzzles are important. This is a part of your mental health. When's the last time someone did a puzzle? Probably been about 10, 15 years, right? Crossword puzzles, physical puzzles, anything that activates the brain. So if you haven't done a puzzle in a while, your brain is probably not as healthy as it could or should be. And then playing brain games like Sudoku. There are so many games, Tetris, so many games that are focused on you having to think and process, which helps in terms of dementia and Alzheimer's. And so sometimes our brain inactivity is what also leads to us not being healthy when it comes to our mental health. Practicing mindfulness to reduce mental clutter. What does that mean? When you practice mindfulness to reduce mental clutter, it means that you are focusing on something. So when you leave a place, anytime you go somewhere, right? Can you in your mind remember what that place looked like on the inside? Do you remember what colors were inside of that place? Do you remember the people that are inside of that place? Even when you speak to someone, do you remember what that person looked like? Meaning, you kind of remember, like, oh, I don't really, like somebody will say someone's name, right? Especially in our community. We have so many people in our community. And we see people all the time. Well, oh, who is brother so-and-so? Oh, I don't know who that is. And then you have them describe who brother so-and-so is. And then, I don't know, I still can't get it right. So this is mindfulness. Remembering people's names is a part of mindfulness as well. So just thinking about that, that's important in terms of your mental health. Taking breaks during work to rest your mind. How many people can work 12 hours a day? I mean, I'm talking about straight. Like, you might go to bathroom breaks and things like that. It's not good for your mental health. So it's extremely important. That's why even as Muslims, we do what? 5 times a day. We pray. Prayer is a mental break from work, right? So you leave prayer, you leave your work, you go pray, and it actually takes you into a state of more calmness because you have to be what? Mindful. You have to go into a state of being centered. So making prayer is a great mental exercise. And so if you're not praying 5 times a day, I'm encouraging you to do it because it's part of self-care, okay? All right, the next area that we want to focus on is social care. Social self-care. The significance of that is human connection is vital for emotional resilience. Healthy social interactions provide support. They reduce feelings of isolation and help maintain balance between work and life. So when we were going through the pandemic, did you know that most people fell into a mental state of instability because we are not being social with each other? Especially people who did not live with other people. So people who live by themselves, more of those people found themselves in isolation, and unfortunately a lot of people who were also didn't have any social interactions passed away. So you not being socially interactive with people can lead to death, because the human being has to engage and interact with other people. This is also important. If you see a homeless person, what's the first thing that goes with a homeless person? Their mental health. Why? Poverty. Being around other people. Because when you are homeless, you're not around other people. And to live in a state of unsafe, like there's no safety around you, what happens is your mind starts to play tricks on you. You literally cannot live in an environment where you're not safe. And so what you'll see is that people who are homeless, generally the first thing to go is their mental stability. That's the only way that they will be able to survive living on the street. It's almost like a protection almost, right? But this is why social interaction is so important. So, when you see those people who are introverts, always encourage them to every now and then go out and do something socially. So some self-care activities socially are scheduling time with your friends or loved ones, attending networking events or social gatherings. The Masjid in the city of Atlanta has so many activities. If you say that you don't have anything to do, I don't know what you're doing. It's so many things to do here in Atlanta. So even if you have to go somewhere by yourself, learn how to do that regularly so that you can have social interactions that are keeping your social self-care intact. Volunteering for a cause that you care about. That's important for social concerns. And then it says that recommendation is like when someone is feeling depressed or unhappy, the first recommendation that they tell you to do is to go and help somebody else. Right? To go to help. You're not feeling well, but you going to help someone else is going to elevate your social self-care. So thinking about volunteering more. And then joining a support group or a community that aligns with your interests. So if you are a triathlete, you need to be hanging around other triathletes. If you like to ride your bike, you need to be riding your bike with other people who like to ride your bike. If you like to walk, join a group where you can be walking regularly. If you like to crochet, quilt, if you like to do scrapbooks or whatever it is, find a group that you can align with, and that basically also becomes your support group. So your social, scale of 1 to 10, how well are you taking care of yourself socially, and write that at the top of your social. The next one is spiritual. Spiritual self-care connects you to a sense of purpose and peace, whether through religion, mindfulness, or simply spending time in nature. It helps anchor you during times of stress and uncertainty. Spiritual, you know how some people are like, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. What does that mean? What does that mean? Right? We have to understand sometimes what we're saying and what it means to say that specific thing. But some of the self-care activities for spiritual self-care is, number 1, daily prayer. So when people say that I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual, and one of the activities is praying regularly, we have to see how that aligns itself, right? So daily prayer, meditation, or reflection. So reflection is important in terms of self-care and spiritual growth. Spending time in nature is spiritual. How many of you love to take those nature walks regularly? Right? And Georgia has some of the most beautiful state parks. They have so many waterfalls all across the state of Georgia. And they also have swimming holes. So if you haven't taken the time to really explore the state of Georgia, I'm encouraging you to do that, because this is where you can basically like find your spiritual center back in nature. And studies have shown scientifically that when you are near water has ions, right? And so we're a certain ion level, and water is a certain ion level. So when you're feeling bad and you go around water, what ends up happening is automatically the ionic release from the water begins to change your mood. So that's why people who live and walk near water are more happy than people who don't. Okay? So this is why lake houses are so important. right? Or beach houses. People who live on the lake house and beach house, they're happy. They feeling good all the time, right? And then we have people who, as we would say, are in the concrete jungle. They're frustrated and things because the nature is not there in order for them to balance themselves out. Reading spiritual context or practicing mindfulness is a self-care activity. Attending a religious or spiritual community event is a self-care activity. So this is, of course, important why we should regularly be attending services, right? And so what we've seen over the course of time is that people aren't really attending service as they used to. It used to be that there were 2 church services that people would go to, early service and regular service. And I was saying this to somebody the other day. I was like, sometimes people go to early service. They were like, what is that? Because it's only one service now, because there's not that many people attending church services. And then even when you see people attending other types of like religious services, like Jummah prayer for the Muslims and for the Christians and for the Jews, everybody has, of course, a different day, but how many people are really going to those services? And are you being filled up when you do those practices? And if you're not finding yourself being filled up, you need to definitely find a place where you are getting that spiritual satisfaction. And so on a scale of, again, 1 to 10, how much are you taking care of yourself spiritually? Did you write that number down? The next one is financial. And let me just say, if your bank account is below $1,000, you need to go ahead and put yourself on a low scale right now, because we need to make sure that we have money in our bank at all times. But financial self-care, how well are you taking care of yourself financially? And this is when I go back to, hey, who wants to be a millionaire? Let me tell you, because when you have money in the bank, people are like, oh, it's not about the money. Let me tell you, when you have money in the bank, your emotional health is better. Your mental health is better, right? Even your spiritual health is better when you have money. And people have a tendency to act like money isn't important. Money is important. It is a tool, and that tool helps you to do specific things in your life that you normally wouldn't be able to do. So, getting that money is important. So how well are you taking care of yourself financially? If you always find yourself having non-sufficient funds in your bank account, or if you find yourself not being able to pay for things, or you're always saying to yourself, I can't afford that. One thing that I want to tell you is that people who have non-sufficient funds regularly in their bank account are making more money than people who are not. Because you have to cover the fees. So if you were to align, and I just want you to do this with yourself, align on a piece of paper your bank account for the month. And next to it, put, if you didn't have any overdraft fees, how much money you would still have in your bank account versus how much you did spend out of your bank account with NSF fees, right? And having to pay something, not once, twice, or whatever. I'm telling you, people who have more money generally pay less fees, and that's why they have more money. It's the same thing as people who live in specific neighborhoods. They are spending more money than people who have more money. Does that make sense? So people who are basically like in underdeveloped or socioeconomic neighborhoods, they are spending more money, but they have less money to spend. But if you go to a black neighborhood, you'll see that gas is more expensive and food is more expensive. But if you go to a neighborhood that has a higher socioeconomic status, then gas there is cheaper and food there is cheaper. But they have more money. So this is also sometimes why people who have socioeconomic statuses, they have less money because they're spending more money, and it's spending more money of less of what they have. Okay, so financially, what are you doing? Are you creating and sticking to a budget? So financial self-care helps you to build stability and reduce stress. Managing money wisely gives you the freedom to invest in your well-being and your business goals. So are you creating and sticking to a budget? And let me just say, a budget is something that says, this is what I need, right? But what you spend is, this is what I have. And oftentimes people are not following the budget. They're following, this is what I have, because what I have is what I want. People spend on what they want, not what they budget for. Does that make sense? So, because if it's not in the budget for you to get that purse or to go on that trip, but you want it, you're going to spend it anyway. So, I always want you to think about, if you're spending money, make sure you have something in there that says, hey, this is also what I want. Because we do it all the time. And when you align what you have in terms of a budget of what you want and what you have, you'll see that there's a big difference, all right? And people generally are always overspending when it comes to that anyway. Are you setting financial goals for savings, debt reduction, or investments? Savings, great, if you know how to do it properly. Debt reduction, absolutely something that you want to do regularly. If you have learned, or if you have not learned, that if you had to put yourself on a strict debt reduction diet, meaning that every single month you want to reduce your debt by $500, you know you could do it. Without changing your income, you could do it right now. You know why? Because if you want it, you would spend it. If you want it, you would spend it. And you do it anyway. So if you say in your head, I want to reduce my debt, then you would make it an important part of putting $500 to the side to spend at the end of the month to reduce your debt. So if you want it, you would do it, okay? And investments. Investments are important. So I think that sometimes people think of investments in a big, big way. And sometimes investments can be something small. So investing in something as small as, I know sometimes people are investing right now in Bitcoin, right? Or any coin for that matter. But just investing in that on a regular basis. Small investments generally end up to big profits later. So thinking about how you're doing that, stimulating that. Consulting a financial advisor for long-term planning. This is important, and I think that a lot of business people overlook this because they don't think that they have a lot of money. But in order to get somewhere, you have to have a plan how to get there. So just like if you wanted to drive from Georgia to New York, how are you going to get there? You have to know the pathway to get there, right? Or you have to look it up in order to see how to drive from Georgia to New York. Same thing with your money. If you want to say, you know what, I eventually want to buy this property and I don't have the money right now, well, then you have to build the financial future to do that, and you have to lay it out. So having a financial advisor is so, so important to help you with those financial goals. Reviewing and adjusting your business pricing or expenses is so important and a part of your financial self-care. So reviewing and adjusting your business pricing or expenses, meaning that the price of your business or whatever your business product and or service should always be going what? Up. If you're reducing the price of your product and or service, you're doing a disservice to yourself and your business. So it's not about bringing the price down to make sure that more, because even if you bring the price down, it doesn't mean that more people will buy it. Let me just tell you that. People buy what they want to buy. They don't care what the price is. And sometimes it's relative. So price is relative. Just like when you say you can't afford it, it's relative. Okay? And the last thing I want to talk about for self-care activities for financial is thinking about not just your business price or expenses, but thinking about looking at your money every single day. Looking at your money every single day. If you looked at your money every single day, when you have that automatic withdrawal that's supposed to come out and you see that there isn't any money to cover that, you'll start working a little bit harder. You'll start working a little bit differently, right? In order to make sure that the money that needs to be there is there. So what happens sometimes is that people just kind of keep going through things like, oh, I'm doing it, hopefully it'll be there whenever. But if you looked at your money every single day, you would feel so secure about knowing if money can or cannot come out of your account. And if it can't, you'll be like, I need to hustle today to get this amount of money to make sure it's in my bank account so this doesn't happen, okay? Environmental. So back to finance, 1 to 10, how well are you taking care of yourself financially? Environmental. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well are you taking care of yourself environmentally? So your surroundings impact your mental and your physical health. So creating a clean, organized, and positive environment can boost productivity, reduce stress, and foster creativity. Let me say that again. Your environment can impact your mental and physical health. Creating a clean, organized, and positive environment can boost productivity, reduce stress, and foster creativity for your business. So this part of self-care is so important. And sometimes people don't realize that when you are in an environment that is not clean, you cannot think straight. And this goes for children as well. So when your children are running all over the place and they can't calm down, ask yourself, is my environment clean enough for them? I've heard people tell mothers, oh, you don't really have to clean the house. Absolutely not true. Absolutely not true. Your children have to be in an environment that is clean and organized in order for them to function. So if your house is never clean, if it's never organized, the children will always be in a chaotic state. And then what happens when you take them out in public? They're just taking that same behavior out in public, right? So always thinking about maintaining your household in a clean and organized way. So self-care activities for your environment are decluttering your home or your workplace. So if you have a workspace in your home, this is where definitely it needs to be clean, because you can't work in a space that's not clean, right? You can't produce money or make more money if that space isn't clean. So how do you begin to declutter? If you haven't used it in the last 6 to 12 months, throw it away. You're not going to use it. That's just the reality. You're not going to use it. And so when you start open up the cabinets and you see that there's stuff in there, you're not using it, but it's in there, you need to ask yourself, why are you keeping it? Serious question. Why are you keeping it? Because why you're keeping something also goes back to your mindset and your mental state. Sometimes people are keeping things and holding on to things because they're afraid of losing. They have a sense of abandonment issues or whatever, and that's also kind of where hoarding comes from. So if you start thinking about how you're going to declutter your home, if you haven't used it in 6 to 12 months, throw it out. Adding plants or personal touches to your environment. Plants are so essential because they give off gases and types of oxygen that we need, and vice versa. And plants is also a part of what we were talking about under the spiritual realm. In nature, the more that you have nature in your home, the more that the environment feels relaxed and feels open and spiritual, right? Spending time in nature to refresh your mindset is important part of your mindset as well for environmental. Ensuring your workspace is ergonomic and conducive to focus, okay? That's important for environmental care. And so sometimes when you start thinking about, man, I want my space to look this specific way, just think about how you can do that on a budget, or how you can do it in a way that maybe I can go to Goodwill and get some of these things. Maybe I can go to Family Dollar. Let me tell you, don't slip on Family Dollar now. Family Dollar has some really nice things that can decorate and elevate your house in a way that at home it's the same stuff. The only difference is at home is $30. Family Dollars is $10. Okay, so just thinking about where you can get some of those things to make your space look the way that you want it to look. Going to Goodwill, trading some things in, and you know, let me tell you, Facebook Marketplace, it has some good stuff on there. Very inexpensive, and people are always giving stuff away for free. So don't slip on Facebook Marketplace, okay? All right, the last self-care area, occupational. Occupational self-care ensures that you find fulfillment in your work without sacrificing your well-being. It's about balancing your career with your life priorities. So some of the self-care activities that you can do for occupational are setting boundaries with work and your personal life. How many people just work all the time? They have no boundaries when it comes to their personal life. Not good. Meaning at any time, somebody can call you anytime, but you have no boundaries set saying, you know what, at 7 o'clock, really, I need to spend time with my family, or I need to spend time with my child, or I need to spend time with my spouse, or I really just need to turn it off, right? So setting boundaries for work hours, and that also is going to help you to prevent burnout. So setting those boundaries are going to help you prevent burnout. Another self-care activity for occupational is schedule regular breaks and vacations. Let me just tell you about them vacations now. One of the business strategies that I teach women is that every quarter you have to go on a vacation. You have to. It is essential. Because if you don't go on a vacation, you can't recharge. So studies show that people who go on vacations regularly make more money than people who never take vacations. Does that sound right? People who take a break and go on vacations regularly make more money than people who never take a break. Why is that? Because they are refreshing themselves. Their mind is getting rested. So now, guess what ends up happening? Have you ever gone on vacation, for those of you who do, and when you come back, you're like, I'm ready, right? Your mind is so clear. You're going 99,000 miles an hour. And then as soon as you start to go down to that burnout, what ends up happening? It's vacation time. This is why it's so important to do it quarterly. Vacation doesn't mean going to Hawaii. Vacation doesn't mean going to Greece. Like, it doesn't have to be some big place that you take yourself on a vacation. I encourage people, you can do a staycation as well. Just removing yourself from your current environment, even for 3 to 4 days, will cause you to reset. So just thinking about, okay, maybe I need to just get an Airbnb, right? Maybe I need to, go and hang out on the rooftop at the W for a whole week and work there or something like that. But doing a staycation, totally removing yourself from what you're doing every day in order to reset. Super, super important, and it's a part of the business strategy. Another thing, let's see, delegating tasks or automating processes. How many of you have automation in your business right now? Who has automation in their business? She's been planning on it. Okay. Well, let me tell you, if your business isn't automated, you're going to burn out. Because what's happened is we get so comfortable thinking that we have to do everything. That's why your business isn't going to grow also, because you're doing everything. So you can't go on vacation because nothing is set up and in place so that if you leave, automatically it runs. A lot of people's businesses aren't set up like that. So what ends up happening is, guess what? They've created themselves a job, not a business. Because what we talked about earlier is a business employs people. If you're the only one working in your business, you don't have a business, you have a job. Businesses employ other people. They make money, they help the community employ other people, and they give a product or service, okay? So thinking about how can you delegate tasks. And when I say delegate tasks, I mean on the basic level, life level. Okay, I need you to go grocery shopping this week. I need you to take out the trash. I need you to help me clean this, whatever. Delegate, delegate, delegate. Everybody that lives in your house is someone that can be delegated to. There is no such thing as superwomen with capes and stuff like that. That's so overplayed out. Especially when it comes to black women. Black women do not, stop doing everything. Stop doing that. That is such a bad. Okay, we cannot do everything. Stop doing that. That's so unhealthy. Delegate, delegate, delegate. And delegate doesn't mean that you're weak. And delegate doesn't mean that you're telling everybody else what to do and you're not doing anything. It just means that we as a communal, in this home or in this business, we're doing it together. And as we're doing it together, we're each playing our role in our part. All right? So delegate, delegate, delegate. Automate your processes as much as possible. If you have someone that sends in an email, have that email automatically auto-reply back to that person. Thank you for reaching me, such and such and such. I'll get back to you in 20, 40, 72 hours. So that they'll know that somebody's going to get back to them. If you don't reply, you just It's kind of like sending a text message and nobody's responding. Communication still has to happen because people are like, what is going on, right? So people still want to be communicated with, all right? All right, so we went over the 8 areas. You put on there 1 to 10 how well you are functioning in that area. Now, I want you to write on your piece of paper. So you've heard some of the self-care activities that I've shared with you that you could and should do. Now what you need to do is create a simple, actionable plan for yourself for each of these areas. Do y'all want a worksheet? Y'all want worksheets? Y'all want a workbook over here? Okay, we go. Okay. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to write down in each of the areas. Number 1, you're going to set realistic goals and deadlines for when this self-care plan comes into place. So let's just say I want to do the environment. I'm going to do a self-care plan. When I start to feel bogged down with my environment, my self-care plan would mean like, okay, I'm going to do a 3-step approach. This is an example. So for a 3-step approach, if I start feeling bogged down by the environment, number 1, I'm going to go with declutter automatically, right? So I'm going to declutter anything that I haven't used in 6 to 12 months. I'm just going to get rid of it. My next self-care plan is, hey, I'm bringing in things that bring me life. I'm going to bring in more plants. The plants that I have that are dead now, I'm rotating those out, right? Because sometimes we do have dead plants, right? And then, hey, you know what? This year, I'm going to do a theme. Hey. I'm going to do a Moroccan theme for my whole house or my business work environment. Or, hey, I want my house to look like Greece. Or, hey, I want my house to look contemporary or whatever. So my action plan for environment will be declutter, bring in new plants, create a theme. That's what I would do. That would be my self-care action plan if and when my environment gets low. So now what I want you to do, again, is think about all 8 of these areas, create an action plan, make sure that it's realistic, and then if you want to, go ahead and talk to people that are around you, sitting around you. Hey, what would you do with self-care? Hey, what are you going to do for your mental health, right? Hey, what book are you going to read? Whatever. So, let me just give you an example for mental health. If my mental health was not doing well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go help somebody. If I'm mentally not feeling well, my action plan is number 1, go help somebody. Number 2, I'm going to start maybe doing some puzzles, right? I'm going to do some puzzles after I go help some person. And the last thing I would do is think about, hey, you know what? I'm going to read this specific book next. And I'm going to spend the next 6 weeks or 3 weeks or 1 week or whatever reading this book or listening to my Audible so that I can get my mental health in check. So, again, if you like the 3-step approach, super easy, go ahead. We're going to give you about 20 minutes right now. Let's see. Yes, 20 minutes to write down your action plan for your self-care for each of these 8 areas. We talked about the importance of it. Now you yourself are going to write down your own personal action plan. And then while you're doing that, I know you're going to be thinking, I want you also to think about how you're going to sustain business through life challenges. And that's going to be the next exercise after we spend the time doing this, because sustaining life through life's challenges, as people are saying, when life is lifing, it's serious, right? But we're going to take 20 minutes to go ahead and write our action plan for those 8 areas. And on Facebook, we'll be back. Talk to you soon.